have the clerk and the auditor that are separate offices. I think the only county of size that's comparable to Washington County is Weber County, that they have a clerk and auditor. And I'm still confused as to why they do that, because there's not really a lot of overlap of what the two jobs are, a little bit, but just really briefly, we have, as I described, we have Genna, that's the chief deputy clerk, and then we have the chief deputy auditor, Luke Peck, that he's over the auditor side. So what do? If you come into our office, it's usually always busy in that lobby area, and people are there to get marriage licenses and passports. That's like the main people that are customers of the clerk side. We also do a lot of tax relief, but on the clerk side, passports, marriage licenses, we're also the county records officer. So we maintain all the records, county records, archive them, we respond to all grammar requests, which surprisingly we get a lot of. And of course the big one, elections. On the auditor side, we are over the county's budget, we do all the accounting services, also over all the accounts payable. We have over a $200 million budget, and about $100 million of that is operational, so that's a lot of AP that goes out every year that we have to keep track of. We also do the property tax relief for people like disabled veterans, people that, financial hardship, that type of thing, that can come apply for tax relief through our office. Here shortly, I'm actually working on property tax rates, and we all get our valuation notice every year for us to own property, and that should be like Christmas when you get that. I know it's not like fun to get anything property tax related, but that goes out in July. Please open it and read it and look at it and say, okay, this is what the assessor's office has appraised my property at. Do I agree with that? If you don't, and you think it's too high, you're not gonna come in if it's too low, but if it's too high, there's a way that you can appeal that. You can use comparable sales, if you have a recent appraisal, a closing statement. If your neighbor's house is similar to yours and their value is less than yours, you can use that as a comparable, but we facilitate that Board of Equalization where you can come in as a property owner, appeal your property value, and they have hearing officers that hear the cases, and there's a representative from the assessor's office that the hearing officer hears both sides and then make a recommendation to the Board of Equalization. The not so fun part is the tax sale. If someone is delinquent 5 years or more on property taxes, their property is subject to a tax sale. And we work really hard not to sell anyone's property. I mean, I don't recall ever hearing of Washington County displacing someone out of their home. Like, we'll work with them, we'll set up payment plans, we really work with them. So for example, this year we started with like 50 properties that were gonna go up for tax sale. And we got it down to one. And the one that actually, it didn't sell, I'll be talking with you, Mayor. It's a little piece of roadway out in Hurricane that the owner didn't want anymore, and he asked what he should do. I'm like, well, just let it go to tax sale, and if it does sell, we'll ask the county commissioners to rescind the sale and just deed it over to Hurricane City. So those are usually the types of processes that we go through. So yeah, we're not in the business of trying to displace anyone from their home. So. And surplus sale. Our office somehow got stuck with doing that. What else do we get stuck with? The mailroom? I don't know, we handle all the county mail. What else? Like, yeah, this is like the dumping ground.
Who's your most efficient?
All right, elections. That's what we're all here. That's the hot topic. That's what we want to hear about. These are some of the things we're going to go over today: are voter registration, ballot verification, chain of custody, or equipment security, and voter responsibility. So our office, county clerks across the state, they're in charge of managing the data, cleaning voter rolls. And the state, the LG's office oversees and audits the work that we do in it. How often do they send us those audit reports where they audit is it monthly? Every quarter, okay. Because I just read the last one and we're 100%. All right, our voter ID verification. What's required is a Utah driver license, a state ID, or a social security number. ID and the social security number are verified, and if we can't verify it, then we don't register them. Now, over at the driver license division, when you renew your driver license, there's a choice there. You can register to vote. That doesn't automatically register you to vote. That's just you want to register to vote. So those all come over to Melanie's department daily, and they verify those through a big process. So that's really busy. That's really the majority of Melanie and her team's job is cleaning voter rolls daily. This is some of the things they do. They check for duplicate registration. That's easy to do within the state because we're working in the state database, and then there's 24 other states that we can compare back and forth. Anyone heard of ERIC? Really popular topic these days. But those are the other 24 states that the state's contracted with.
What about the other states?
What about the other ones?
They're not part of the group, so.
So they could be a duplicate.
Melanie, you want to talk about that?
It's a good question. It depends on the other state. So what I assume occurs is that on the state level, if they aren't a state that participates in ERIC, where we share information back and forth that direction, there's other information that still flows from those other states to our state, from our state to that state. So, that's basically a question that you'll want to ask the LG's office, something like that, because they're the ones that get the information, compile it, and send it down to us. But I will tell you, as an end user of ERIC, it keeps our voter rolls a lot cleaner, faster. So, as an end user,
Yeah, we don't
I'm just
add
saying,
information.
as an end user,
Yeah.
we do, that does help us do our job.
I know there's a lot more to it than that, but we're not adding any voter, we're removing voters. We get information like someone in another state is registered, and then we remove them from our roll, so. I know there's arguments both ways.
Yeah.
Deceased voter checks, we get notices from the state, the Social Security Administration, and obituaries. It's kind of morbid. Every morning I come into work, I look over the cubicle walls and there's the obituaries up. Everyone's searching the obituaries, and they remove those people from our voter rolls if they exist there. So yeah, it's like we're at a funeral every day when we come to work. We mentioned the updated voter registration list comes from the driver's license division daily. And then we get a national change of address monthly. So that to answer your question, that's one of the tools we can use is the national change of address form that we get monthly. Undeliverable mail, we'll get into this when we go through the process of ballots. When those come back to us, those get scanned in, and we don't unregister those people, but if a ballot gets mailed out, it goes there, it's undeliverable, it gets returned to us, we scan it, and we make that voter inactive so we don't mail a ballot to them again. And, people really don't think of us first when they move to say, I need to change my voter registration mailing address. We wish we had a crystal ball that we could find everyone that moved, but they don't always inform us. So I think it's not perfect, but it's a pretty good process that those come in and we make them inactive. Our undeliverable rates we've really tried to get these down. You can see that we've almost cut it in half from 2022, from our last presidential election. Of all the ballots we mailed out, there's about 1.5% that came back that we have to scan in and make them inactive. So in elections, you don't really have a lot of avenue to be your own person or make changes because there's the lane's pretty tight of the election code. But we decided we would redo our ballot envelope, because that's one of the things that we had a decision about. I'll show it to you quick. Okay, so the county has a themed color scheme, and one of their branded colors is, I don't even know the color of this, but it's kind of like a gold. Yeah. So that's what your ballot will look like if you choose to have one mailed to you this coming municipal election. We're gonna do some PR work and make sure people know the change, but let me tell you one of the reasons we changed it is, as you know, they're yellow. They've been yellow historically. There's several counties in the state that use that same color, and it's really helpful for us when those come in that we can remove them from the process from the beginning so they don't go through the process. They would never be counted, and I'll tell you why when we get there, but it's just easier to remove them at the very beginning. And so we thought, we're gonna be the only ones that have this color.
So somebody copies you.
This is what the ballot envelope will look like when you return it. Same color scheme there. And it has this little red corner on it. You know, that's not a new thing, that's always been there. The reason that's important is it helps us to orient these envelopes as they come back, because that's the way we want to feed them into our automatic signature verification, which we will get into. So what else we want to talk about on here? Okay, yeah, this little privacy tab, don't rip that off as much as you want to, don't rip it off. But under that covers up your signature and your phone number and your email address, which is optional. But it's important, I feel it's important that you put that information on your ballot envelope, because if there's a problem with the ballot, we'll reach out to you and through text or email or phone call or a letter and let you know that, hey, your signature doesn't match, please come in and fix it. So we'll never use that information for anything else besides trying to get you to come in and fix your signature, which that's changing too, we'll get to that. One of those changes is that not only is the signature going to be on there, but your last four of your driver license, a state ID, or your social security card. We'll visit that a little bit more here. Okay. Now, this is obviously just an example here, but that information would be printed right here. So it's got the voter's name, and something new this year to help the state better audit, they've added a county identifier that you need to each county. We're county number 27. So that's really the only thing that's changed, the precinct name. So all your precinct names will have a 27 in front of it. This is an example of Washington County, or excuse me, precinct. It's in the county of Washington, in the city of Washington, precinct 1. Then it's got your voter ID, and then it's got a control number right here. We'll talk more about the control number, but the control number is a unique number that's tied to you as a voter and to the election that's happening right now. Believe it or not, there's people that will send in a ballot from a previous election, and this number will kick it out of the system, so we know not to count that. So, okay, we get this question of like a lot of what do we do with a damaged ballot? What do you do if it's lost? What do you do if it's soiled? We get some that I want to call in the hazmat department. What did you do with this thing? But call us. The answer is call us, and we'll get you taken care of. If you've moved, call us. If you did not receive your ballot in the mail, call us. If you've received a ballot for someone else, call us. So talking more about this control number, say someone spills coffee all over their ballot envelope and it makes it so it's not readable. call us. And if there's enough time, we can resend you a new ballot. If there's not, we'll say, don't risk it, go vote in person. But what happens when we do that is we spoil that ballot in the system, and so this control number is no longer good. And the new ballot envelope that you have will have a new unique control number. If that person, which we've seen this happen before, tried to send that in, it would kick it out. It wouldn't allow it to go through the system. So that's a nice security feature. I see a lot of familiar faces down here that have been to our processing center down in the basement. If you haven't been there, I invite you to call me and we'll take you down there and show you. It's pretty impressive to watch it work. But the machine does several things. The first thing we use it for is a fancy piece counter. It just counts how many envelopes we have. So Melanie's team will go out to, say, a Dropbox location, the Santa Clara Library or the Hurricane Library or wherever. In teams of 2, they'll get those the ballots and they put them in a bin, and they have tags, numbered tags with serial numbers on them. In fact, Jerry's helped do that. He's one of our volunteer ballot picker-uppers. So they go out teams of 2, they tag those up, they write down the seal tag numbers, and then they both initial it. When those come back to the county, then there's another team that they look at those seal tags, 1, to make sure they haven't been broken, and 2, to make sure that those seal tag numbers match up with what was logged. So it's just a whole chain of custody process through the whole process. Those are taken out of the bin and we're like, okay, we want to know how many at this drop location came in on this particular drop. So that's when we'll run them initially through our envelope sorter, and it's really just counting, like, okay, we got 500 from this location at this day, at this time, and these 2 people picked them up. When we get a big enough batch, then that's process number 2. And I'm probably not going to be the best at following the slides, so we might have to skip around a bit. Okay. The very first pass, it does automatic signature verification. So loaded into our database, we have signatures from the state voter registration system. It takes a picture of the signature. I guess I should back up. The first process we do is we remove this privacy tab before we do the P-scan. Actually,
Is that done by hand?
we do that backwards. Yes. Do you want to volunteer? We'd love to have you rip off 100,000 privacy tabs.
And the ballots not count if that privacy tab is removed.
No, he'll count.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yeah. It's just there for privacy.
Right, okay.
So the first pass goes through, it takes a picture. If it matches, if it's a good enough match, we have a setting in there that you can turn it up or down. We have it set pretty high because I don't want anything slipping by that doesn't match. It goes and sorts down. Right now we have it sorted to go down to the precinct level. We might actually change that this municipal election, have it sort to the city level. 1, because the state is changing the way that they do their audits. It's more like batch number rather than precinct, but we're still deciding what to do there. But we have the capability to sort, we could sort it down to like a house race. A lot of functionality there to get it to where we want. So the first pass, if it's good, it gets sorted down to one of these several bins along the way. If it doesn't pass, if the signature doesn't match, it gets kicked to a special bin that goes through another process. And I'm looking at Mayor Billings here, and I got to tell you of an experience we had it was 2 years ago during the municipal election. They came in to do a canvass, and we started looking at the envelopes, and there was one that got through that didn't have any signature, and my heart sank. I'm like, oh no, like what has happened here? Well, it turns out one of our signature verifiers verifiers accidentally clicked that the signature was good, which, human error, I guess, but we don't want anything without a signature ever going through the process. So we're able to work with our vendor, and anything that's missing a signature gets kicked out into a special bin. It never re-enters the
And then you
system.
were able to just remove that ballot too, so it wasn't counted
Yeah.
on the election.
But elections aren't perfect. I wish they were, but things like this come up and we have to just like, time out. We gotta find out what's going on and fix the problem. So it was actually, I'm not glad that we found that, but I'm kind of glad we found that so we can fix and make our process more accurate. So let's talk about those signatures. How am I doing on time? Am I okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The ones that get kicked out, let's talk about those. We have a big wall of laptops that are not connected to the internet. We have our poll workers there, and the image that gets taken of your signature, they look at that, and then they look at what comes through the state database. They only have one signature. I believe it's the most recent one that comes up on that. So they can look at that and do a comparison, and if it matches, they can pass it. They'll mark it that it passes. If it's like, no, this doesn't match, they mark that it's no good. After we've done that through that whole batch, then we take all those bad ones, the naughty ones that got kicked out, and we run them through the machine again. And it knows from those decisions that the signature verifiers made to either put it back into the system or kick it out. So the ones that are good, they get sorted back in with all the ones that made it through on the first pass. The bad ones, they're out. And they go to a second round of signature verification. That's our senior staff. This is like Melanie and Genna's top tier team, that they have access to more data, more signatures, up to 5, and they'll do a deeper dive into those signatures. Some of those will come out of that process good. Some of them don't make it out of there, and that's when they become what we call a cured ballot. That's when we start reaching out to the voters with these phone numbers and emails and letters saying, hey, come and fix your ballot, we want to count it. Okay.
What percentage?
What were our cure rates? Oh, actually, I think I have that here. Do we have that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna get to that. Yeah, I think it's right here. Approximately 2% of the ballot envelopes are challenged, meaning they get kicked out, and sadly, only about 20% of those get cured. It really breaks my heart when you see that, like the big piles of that. And so there's some changes in the law that we're going to talk about later in the presentation that I'll let you be the judge of whether you think it's going to be better or worse, but those are the numbers. So we've talked about how we cure those ballots. For those of you who've been downstairs when we're doing that from this very start, from the very beginning, we talk about the tags that we use. Once those get put into a batch, they have batch paperwork, and that batch paperwork has a batch number. It has how many ballots are in that batch. So along the process, I can't even remember how many times that we 1, 2, 3, 5. There's 5 times that people are counting those and making sure that, like, okay, I started with 99 here, I got to this next process, okay, there's 99 here, so it's, and every one of them has to be signed off by the person doing the work. Now the big scary tabulation equipment that we hear that's hooked to the internet and that the Russians have hacked and the Chinese have got a hold of, and look, I just want to say that I had never worked in elections before I came to this job 2 years ago, and I read the news. I was nervous. Who wouldn't be with everything that goes on? And I'm not saying that it's not possible. I think anything is possible when you're talking about a machine or an electronic. But I wanted to find out for sure for me and for you. I think Melanie rolled her eyes a little bit at me, because she'd been doing this so much. She had faith in the system, but I was a newbie. I'm like, no, we've got to make sure this is tabulating accurately. So it wasn't required by the state, it wasn't some law, but we hand counted thousands of ballots. We literally have hand counted thousands of ballots through multiple elections and compared it to the reports that would come from these tabulator machines on a precinct level. And I can say that, like, they're accurate. They're kind of freakishly accurate. I see another face out here where we discovered a little issue in the process. Councilman Tanner was coming in for a municipal canvass and got to a precinct and it didn't match. And I'm like, same feeling, like, oh no, what's happened here, what's going on? And we dug into it and couldn't figure it out. And in fact, if I remember correctly, Councilman Tanner's like, I just want to come back. I want to come look at this again. I'm like, okay, let's come back and look at it again. I think you could argue both ways, but I'm probably calling it human error. This is what happened. There was a ballot. Hopefully I'm getting the story right. When you looked at the ballot, it looked like someone had used like nail polish remover or some sort of something to like remove the, like, I don't want to vote for this person. I marked this person, but I don't want to vote for this person. And then they voted for someone else. So we do adjudication. So these scanners are, like I said, they're really accurate. It kicked this particular ballot out because it's like, I don't know what to tabulate for this. And so those come up on a screen, an image, a scanned image, and so the team looks at it, and if you looked at the scanned image, it looked like it was picking up and showing that as a mark that someone had voted that person. But when you're doing adjudication, you're trying to determine intent. Like, what is the intent of the voter? And when you looked at the paper copy, the actual ballot, you could see the intent. During this new machine that we got and the process, we didn't have the paper ballot when we were looking at the scanned image. We've since changed that. Like I said, elections aren't perfect. Now we have the paper copy and the scanned image. We look at them both. So I'm calling that human error. So yeah, but I guess my point is that we stop anything, the whole process to figure something out. There's been many times we've stopped the whole process and sent everyone out of the room until we could go upstairs and figure out what was happening.
I think we need to give kudos to you, by the way, and your team for allowing people like Nanette, Billings, myself, and others to come in and do those canvases, and everyone here, because there were some who were fighting for us not to be able to do that, and you stood up for transparency, so thank you.
I will say I was very nervous though. Not that I wanted to cover anything, I'm talking about doing the hand counts. I wanted to know, and I think it's important. I hope that we've put that to bed, at least in Washington County, that it's accurate. These things are doing their job. Another thing I wanted to point out, just to show that, like, we listen to people, we're not just doing our own thing. We had a phone call, I can't remember if it was the last election, I think it was the last election, and the lady had said, I can see who voted through the ballot envelope if I put it up to like a flashlight. And I'm like,
High-powered flashlight.
okay. She was really concerned about it, and I get it's a valid concern. So we found out we have a Cadillac of envelopes now. So if you open up the new ones, there's a cheetah print in there, and you can't shine a light through it. Maybe you could if you had like one that would start your ballot on fire if it was that powerful, but anyways, that was an extra security step we took. Another thing that we did is we would send our ballot equipment that goes to the vote centers on a trucking company. And just, I know nothing was happening, well, I don't know that, but just, we're trying to take every step we can. So now, like, we formed the Washington County Trucking Company, and we go rent a budget rental truck every election, And Genna and I are just like cruising around town to deliver this equipment ourselves. So it never leaves like our custody, from the vote center to the truck to bringing it back to the county. Okay, so just a little bit more about the tabulation equipment. It's certified by the United States Election Assistance Commission. It's never connected to the internet. It has no Wi-Fi capabilities. All the software updates we do manually. If there's a wheel or a belt or something on it that needs to be repaired, we're there with the technician the whole time. All of it's logged in our maintenance books. All of the access doors are sealed. Even to power this thing on, there's a seal tag on there that you have to go to the logbook and make sure that like it has the right seal number, so like someone didn't break in there in the middle of the night and mess with it. Everything's under 24-hour video surveillance. We do logic and accuracy tests prior to the election. We do it different audits through the election process. We do it after the election process. And now the state actually changed the way they do their audit, and guess what? They're hand counting. Like, so maybe they stole that from me, I don't know.
Yeah, we do. You can thank Ryan for that, so.
And that's through the whole state, that every county has to hand count a certain amount there. So as much as everyone wants to blame us for anything that goes wrong, there is unfortunately some voter responsibility. One, maintain your current address. Let us know if you've moved. Track your ballot. Sign up for the ballot tracks. It's really useful. So when that ballot goes through our sorting machine, it scans that control number and that your voter ID number. And if you've signed up for this, that's when we do that upload, that's like you get that email or the text. It's like, hey, your ballot's been counted. So I really encourage you all to sign up for that. Okay, so let's talk about the changes. Sorry, I don't know what we're doing on time. What time is it?
It's 20 till.
What are we going to?
One, if you have time for some questions.
Okay. I want time for questions, so we'll make this really quick. One of the big, we talked about the audits. Let's talk about the law changes.
Good.
The big change is that I have to have your ballot by 8 p.m. on election day.
Good,
Like if it comes in the next day through mail, I can't count it.
good.
If you postmarked it a week in advance and it shows up after like the next day, I can't count it. So please help us get that message out. If you have to mail your ballot, which I understand some people, that's their only avenue, please like mail it super early. But vote in person or get it in a Dropbox. Put it in a Dropbox, you're safe.
How is the county gonna get that word out to people that don't pay attention?
Through us.
Hopefully with organizations like this, social media, I'm open to any suggestions of how to do
How,
that.
if they, there's just a lot of people that don't know.
It'll
I'm-
be written on the instructions.
Yeah, it is, but I'm fearful that we're gonna have a lot of people that don't get their ballots
Ryan,
counted.
can't there be a Dropbox at the post office for the postman to put it in? For us to be able to pick up? Then it doesn't actually get mailed.
Yeah, I don't know, can look into that.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. 'Cause
I know
you
one-
can distinguish what they look like.
I think of one issue with that, I can think of one issue is that we have to have all of our ballot drop boxes, the unmanned ones, under 24-hour video surveillance, and we really wouldn't have access to have cameras at the post office. Because those all get stored at the county, so I don't know, but it's worth looking into.
Ryan, it says
because voters are now choosing how they wanna receive their
Yeah.
ballot, is this like, you have to opt in for mail-in voting now?
So, I'm glad you brought that up. So the the new voter registration form that's went into effect last month, there's a new couple choices on there. And I'll read it word for word. Indicate below how you want to vote in upcoming elections. First choice, mail a ballot to me. I intend to vote by mail. Second choice, do not mail a ballot to me. I will vote in person. So this is being phased in, and every 8 years, you're going to have to make that choice again.
So if we're already registered, we have to go in and mark that box?
No,
Okay.
no, that will be, I'm told that the Lieutenant Governor's office is going to work on, I kind of thought of the scenario of like, hey, my driver license isn't gonna expire in this 8 years, I'm registered to vote, like, what's gonna happen? And I don't know the answer to that yet, we'll find out.
Because we have an election in August.
Yeah, but you're good, you don't like get dropped off, this is just phasing in new voter registration.
So we all get a ballot in the mail in
Yes,
August.
if you haven't, we haven't inactivated you or if you've been registered.
So in 2012, it was an opt-in, like you had to say, please send me a ballot. It's kind of gonna be similar to that, it's just taking
Yes,
a process of 15 years to get there.
yes.
Yeah.
So another thing that's new is, that's effective this municipal election, I don't think a lot of people will do it, but you can put the last 4 digits of your driver license, your state ID, or your social security number. Our envelope sorter isn't set up to read a handwritten number just yet. We have until 2029 to do that, but you could write down that 4-digit number. We'll be watching for those when we we pull that privacy tab off to look for those. But we don't have a special place for it because it's not required by law yet. But someone could potentially do that.
You would do that instead of a signature?
So both,
Yeah, right now.
yeah. But it would change if you put your 4 digits and your signature like was on there, and say your signature didn't match, doesn't matter, we have to use that 4 digits. So like signatures go out the window, you're just signing that as an affidavit kind of with that.
So that's opening, that could be real open door to fraud, because you can get anybody's numbers.
Well, you need to talk to your legislators that were so smart that made this new change.
I will.
Let's see, I want to make sure I've got everything that I'm telling you about here. So,
So Ryan, just to be clear, in 2029, we will no longer have to sign, we just put our last.
no, you have to sign it, but you're signing it as an affidavit, but we will not be verifying your signature.
So the signature verifying equipment that we just bought will be null and void.
Well, we're told that we'll be able to retrofit it so that it will read the handwritten 4 digits.
So if I want to be dishonest, which I wouldn't be, but if I want to be dishonest,
Yes,
I could fill out my husband's ballot, put on his
Yes.
social security number, and it would be accepted.
yes.
Fraud.
So I'm guessing the legislature will fix that in the next session.
Yeah, so
Talk to us.
their argument, I think, would be, hey, we know you've requested a ballot be mailed to you, you've registered to vote at this address, you have this unique identifier that goes to you, but yes, you're absolutely right. There is nothing that could stop someone from me voting my wife's ballot if I knew
Anybody.
her number.
My neighbors, if I had
So-
ID
So
numbers.
it won't be a problem for missionary moms anymore.
No,
No,
no, they'll be fine.
we've talked amongst ourselves, and we're not lawmakers, we're just the law followers. But I wish that they would have made it both. Like, make the signature match and,
Who did that?
State legislature.
yeah.
How did our local legislators did that? Not the.
But you're gonna knock out are the people that sit there and just have a pile of 50 envelopes and they just sign all of them,
That's right.
because they won't know four-digit number.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, in California, they have stacks of people just signing.
Here's our contact information. Please reach out. If you want a tour of the election center, please get a hold of us. Some more contact. Do we have some questions that we wanted to?
I just want to make a comment. I've worked with Genna and with Melanie and Ryan for quite a long time, especially Melanie for the last 16 years. And I'm just really appreciative. And since 2000, I've actually helped with elections. So I just really appreciate people that are really, every time that we talk about something, we're trying to improve something. We're trying to make something better, because over the last 25 years that I've helped with elections, on the municipal election, like I would go into the library and help people in my precinct vote. And I just see the changes that have been made over the years, and it's to help people so that their voices can be heard and so that we have good, honest elections. And I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, now you're in the hot seats. All right, how many non-citizens or dead people have tried to vote in our election? I'm just curious.
I got some notes here, because I thought this question would come, but So we heard from this fairly recent audit, I can't remember, it was like 1,400, 1,500 people in Utah. I think it was, like, the headline was that dead people that voted. It's not really dead people that voted, it was just dead people that were still on the voter rolls. So I had Melanie go diving to find out what, like, Washington County's numbers were. So there's four people, and I wanna just go through those really quick. There was one that we had as an active voter. A ballot was mailed out to that person. They didn't vote, so like the vote didn't count, but they were active, and we mailed a ballot to them. The problem was they had died in Salt Lake County, the obituary ran up there, and just the timing issue, we hadn't got notice from vital statistics of that person had moved. Like, it's pretty common that, like, some people will take their parent up to a rest home up away from here, and we don't know.
I mean, with social security, let you know?
They do, but it's just a timing
It's a timing.
issue. I was happy to see that no one voted that ballot. There was another one that we had as inactive on our system. They had died in Cache County. So we didn't mail a ballot to that person, but they shouldn't have been inactive in our system. They should have been removed, but we just didn't know yet. There was a third person that was inactive that we didn't send a ballot to that died in Utah County. And the fourth one is kind of interesting and sad, but they were active. We mailed them a ballot, and guess what? They voted, but they died after. So it was all legit, like they voted during the election, but they died shortly after the election.
So did their vote count?
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Okay, very good. That did answer the question, yes.
That's amazing that it's so specific.
Right?
I commend you for.
Yes, and I like that you brought notes on all four of them. That's impressive. All right, so how would it be helpful to make the clerk and auditor's office separate, since they clearly have so many jobs, and how do you go about doing that?
It's a commission decision. They would have to be the ones that would do that. It has to be timed at a certain time of year, because you would have to have 2 elections to elect the clerk and the auditor. My personal feeling, I have really good help right now. We were just understaffed when we first got there, right, Melanie? It was crazy, but I feel really good about it. We can manage it, but I can see, like, in the future, we really need to think about separating the two. It's just, like right now, I need to be at work doing tax rates. It's so we don't bankrupt the entities that rely on that revenue to function and fill the potholes and have police calls. And
What, you don't wanna be here answering questions?
No, I love it.
I'm just gonna say, so for those of us here who are listening to you, you're gonna give us a 10% discount?
I wish. I don't collect the money, you have to talk to the treasurer about
Tell
that.
us how much.
She should have cut the recording for that part. Okay, so what's your opinion of one-day voting, paper ballots, voter ID?
If that's what the law changes to, we will make it happen. So people ask me what I feel a lot, and it's just like, I don't care, just whatever the law is, we'll do it. We can make it happen. I will tell you, my heart sank during this presidential election, and I turned down the convention center road at like 7,
Oh.
and I wanted to cry. Like, there was lines out the building, and luckily, everyone got in, everyone voted, holy cow, but it was very stressful.
Hey.
Yeah, you can thank your procrastinators for that one.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of concern that we have perhaps illegal migrants voting in our elections. What are your thoughts on that? Is there legislation that we can enact? What can we do to help that
Do you
situation?
just want to talk about like the current process of how we prevent someone illegal?
Well, I guess this goes into the voter registration process. And like Ryan had said before, I mean, if somebody just submits a form, through their driver's license or even in our office, it still has to be checked before that person becomes a registered voter. So we utilize tools that the state gives us. So part of the checks that we do on every registration is we check your driver's license if it's on there, and we make sure that it really is you. And then also tied into that is the social security check as well. So yes, we do have some people who do just register with just the last 4 of their social. However, according to Utah law, that's not quite sufficient to be able to vote yet. So if they vote by mail, they have to provide valid ID before we can actually count their ballot. Or of course, if they go vote in person, they also have to provide valid ID as well. So now, of course, the state's always going to be doing some more stuff as well. So they're kind of over that part of it on a more national scale than we are, but on the local level, that's how we handle it.
So,
And yeah, and then if for some reason nothing matches, these people don't get registered, right? We don't just bloat the rolls with people who aren't actually able to be registered. So we will reach out to them, we will contact them, maybe it was just a typo, but they're not registered.
so with the driver's license division, I know in the state of Utah, they allow permits for illegals. That doesn't count as a necessary ID for being added to our voter rolls, right?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all.
Okay, very cool. All right, this says some counties honored grandma requests to see signatures of candidates, some did not. Why did Washington County deny grandma requests to view candidate signatures?
Actually, this question got asked. This is really kudos to Melanie and her team. So during the last senator race, was that District 29? Melanie's team verified the signatures of those packets, and Melanie came to me and said, hey, there's some stuff that doesn't look right, can you look at this with me? And I'm not a forensic expert, but it was pretty clear to me that there were some just outright forgeries, and it looked like someone had signed in the same penmanship for several people in that household. And so there was a decision that had to be made, and I know we made the right decision, but I guess one of the things we could have done is just said, okay, you didn't get enough signatures, sorry, you have to go through the convention. But that's not the right thing to do. We turned it over to the attorney's office, the Washington County Attorney's Office, to investigate, which they did. They had an investigator go out and literally knock doors to talk to these people that their signature was forged or someone in the family signed for multiple people. Those then it turned into like a bigger investigation and got lumped in with a statewide investigation and got taken over by the AG's office. But I do want to point out that there was a grammar request filed to view the signatures, and you know what I said? Come and look at them. Come down and look at them. And I said, you can't take a picture of them, you can't copy them, but you are welcome to come and see what we're seeing. And so the way I remember it is this person was literally like getting in the car to come down and look at the signatures when we were told that that might affect an investigation, and so that person couldn't look at the signatures. That was from the attorney or the AG's office, I can't remember. So I was willing to do it, I gave this person permission to it and to look at it and shut down, so. But it really was, it was Melanie's team that's what snowballed this whole, even to the governor race of this signature gathering company. There were, I'm happy, like, that happened here in Washington County, like, we stopped it. There were, I can't remember how many people were charged, I think 4 in Washington County, but I don't think they've been sentenced yet.
They got plan advances,
Did they? All of them?
misdemeanor plan advances.
Did all 4? You did?
I've seen at least 2 of them.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Special thanks to our judiciary.
What does so a candidate turns in signatures that Gather Incorporated got for them, or whoever got the signature, is the candidate liable for turning in those signatures?
Not that I'm aware of. I really feel like it's that company was made to be a victim by themselves. Like, oh, we're the victim of this. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you are the problem with this. I mean, and they didn't train their people. It was just, yeah, they kind of got off scot-free, and I feel like at least the company should have had something happen to them.
Okay. Are we, one more? Okay. This one's kind of a long one, and I don't know if you have an answer for it, but we'll see. How is it possible to get comps for work buildings as a very small business owner to have our building?
Sorry, what was the first?
Oh, comps for like comparable price. I'm guessing this is a property thing. To have our building for work go up almost 5,000 in 1 year. It's a complete struggle to afford an 8-person run business. We tried to be able to fight this, but no comps are available.
So this is probably more of an assessor office question, but I did work there, so I have a pretty good handle on it. If you don't have like a comparable sell and you have a commercial property, you can use the income approach for valuation of like what could you rent that building out for, and you capitalize that rent, and that can give you a value based on the rent and the capitalization rate. So, but yeah, definitely, if you feel it's overvalued, we're coming up, those valuation notices are going out August 1st to September 15th is that appeal window.
Okay,
How
awesome.
much are ours going up?
What's that?
How much are ours gonna go up?
It's classified.
Utah, I feel like, has a pretty fair property tax system. Most of the time you're not seeing huge, some people do, but most of the time it's a pretty consistent year to year. Sometimes 1 year you'll pay a little more and your neighbor will pay a little less, but there's fluctuating values. But at the end of the day, like an entity, like say St. George City, cannot collect any more revenue than they did the prior year, except for the new growth that comes online from like new homes being built, so.
Ryan, with the big increases we've all seen over the last decade were state school tax.
Yes, that's a whole other issue where the state school froze their rate, which sounds really good, like, oh, you froze the tax rate. It's actually really bad in an appreciating market, because as values were going up, that tax rate should have adjusted down so you paid about the same amount every year. That didn't happen. Values were increasing and that state rate was frozen and didn't adjust down, so they raked in the money those like 5 years, like raked it in. which is unfortunate for all of us.
Okay, thank you so much, Ryan and Melanie
Thanks
and
for
Genna.
Yes, thank you. As you can tell, they have a lot of jobs to do, not just elections, and we appreciate you guys so much. And I know Ryan and them would love to, like they said, like go tour it if you haven't, because it will open your brain to see that process. And so yes, we're so appreciative of you guys coming and educating us. Share the information you've learned, and like they mentioned, the upcoming municipal election, let's let people know to make sure they get their ballot in by 8 p.m. that day. Don't mail it, don't drop it too late. So yes, thank you so much. We take our little summer break as a reminder, so no luncheons in July and August. Turn in your volunteer forms, Jennifer's reminding us, so we keep track of that for the club. Our club is actually on track to get the Diamond Award again at the national level, and that's because of all of you and all the great things you're doing, so good job. So watch for more information coming on forums for the candidates, and our September evening meeting will be a good time to join back. So hope you all have a great summer. We'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved. All right. Thank you so much. You got a lot of information out. You're probably tired of it. That was perfect. Yeah, no, that was great.
Justin, can I have you come down?
We had a question. You're the board of Brian on the phone, and then all of a sudden
Alright, Ryan, let's do you for a picture.
that's your answer, right?
I love your
I thought it was good.
Going.
Yeah, that was great.
I know, that worked out really good. I thought we would have some more questions.
Yeah. And I think these probably answers a lot of those election updates.
I think so too, probably. A better understanding of the process kind of does that.
Let's go get your stuff cleaned up.